Hey everyone, happy holidays and welcome back to Reading with Tatiana. Today I'm reading a cozy holiday read that I did for my book club, but it's also super, how do I say it, super juicy or super smutty. And as you know, if you watch my channel, I don't really enjoy smut too much, and this was like the smuttiest book I've ever read. Anyways, I'm reviewing Time to Shine by Rachel Reid, and I surprisingly gave this book a 4 out of 5. I guess because it's the holiday season and I went in just, with a very open mind. Today, my Booktuber shout goes out to Ginger Snap Reads. I came across the channel because I looked up reviews for this book. I want to see what other people thought about this book, especially if they're romance or smut readers. She doesn't have a review on her channel, but on December 26th, and I think I'm going to post this video on December 25th, she is having a live book club for this book. So if you want to check out her channel, give her some support. If you read this book and have time to join the live feed, definitely do that. And as always, before I go into my full book review, I always will appreciate hit the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and also comment down below if you have read this smutty book. This book was published this year in 2023. I think it was actually published a few months ago in September, and the genre is romance, holiday romance, and gay hockey smut holiday romance. That's the niche genre it's in. A bit about the author Rachel Reid. So how my book club picked this book is there's a member of my book club who I think reads smut kind of regularly, and she suggested this author because this author is Canadian. I think she grew up in Nova Scotia, and this book is set in Calgary, so we thought that was very fitting because we live in Calgary. Rachel Reid is her pen name. Her actual name is Rochelle Goguin, but Rachel Reid is easier to say and kind of rolls off your tongue a bit better. And if you go to her website, her specific category, which I can't believe this is actually a big enough genre to have its own genre, is smut about hockey romance, specifically male on male. And if you look at Rachel Reid's website, she has so many books, and on Goodreads there is a subcategory that was suggested to me because I read this book. And it's just so funny because like the title of the book, like this one's called Time to Shine, so it just sounds like a holiday romance, but these other books that are male hockey romances is like On Thin Ice or Poke Stick or that kind of stuff. So that was really funny. So yeah, that's Rachel Reid, and that's her specialty. So let's get into the premise of the book. As I already said, it's male hockey romance, so minor spoiler there, I guess. So we meet Landon, and this book was kind of like cool because I grew up watching hockey. So he plays for the feeder team for the Calgary Outlaws, and the Calgary Outlaws in this book is basically the fictional NHL team of the Calgary Flames. And then he plays for a feeder team in Saskatoon. And so he's a goalie, and basically the backup goalie for Calgary Outlaws gets injured. So Landon is called to play as a backup goalie in Calgary for the big leagues. Obviously, the potential to play some games are like low stakes, or if the headliner goalie isn't doing well, he can get called in. So that's Landon. And then we meet Casey Hicks, who is on the Calgary Outlaws, and he is kind of like a hockey, like, not legend, sorry. His father is a hockey legend who's retired, so Casey Hicks followed his father's footsteps and is also a hockey player. I would say he's like up and coming, up and came kind of. He's still very young, has a lot of potential, and he's very social and outgoing. And so when Landon comes to Calgary to play, he's only there for 2 months while the backup goalie is healing. So Casey, he is a up and coming slash up and came hockey player. So he is super rich. So he has this big empty house in Calgary, where only he lives at. So obviously he's like, hey Landon, like come stay with me. It's not a big deal. Happy to house you, and just so convenient, right? And then so basically there's a lot of like banter. It's very quickly that you learn to know that Casey's kind of like a playboy. He's bisexual. Landon is unexperienced, and we don't know if he's asexual or if he's into women or men, but he always has a more like preference for men. He just has never had any experience. So one night, Casey, who is a grown adult. I don't want to like make fun of people with phobias, obviously, but it's just funny because you imagine this hockey player and he's like an adult and he has a very like big phobia of the dark. So conveniently, one night when Landon's staying with Casey, there's like a thunderstorm that powers out, and Casey asks Landon if he can stay in his bed with him, and that's where the story starts, and it's just super like smutty. Common themes I found in this book, it is a light, smutty read, but there's always lessons you can learn. So I think the first thing that really resonated with me, because this is a male-on-male romance, and I said before, Landon has zero experience sexually or anything like that. So I think the idea of consent and boundaries and respecting consent and boundaries is super important, and this book really talks about that. And also the idea of discovering one's sexuality. Actually, now that I'm talking about, I actually really enjoy this book because I've read like other books like Colleen Hoover, who I'm not a fan of, where I feel there's all like pushing and pulling, but like just like attraction and love, it makes it's okay to push some boundaries. But this book really talks about Casey, who's he's kind of like a player, like not a hockey player, but like a player in the field or player in like bars and clubs, and he can get laid super easily, but he really respects that Landon is not experienced. He never pushes Landon to do anything more than he's comfortable with. So I think it's really important. I actually really appreciate this book. The other thing is the camaraderie in this hockey team. People were super supportive of Landon and Casey's romance. However, I was kind of curious. I googled like hockey players are out in the NHL league, and I think there's only one. And from what I read online, I think the NHL league is still kind of leaning homophobic, or maybe not homophobic like bluntly, but it seems like they're ambivalent towards pride and that kind of stuff, which isn't a great stance. But I guess at the same time, like I don't know, like does everyone have to like rah pride? I don't know. This is a very hot topic, but just when I read on Google, the camaraderie and supportiveness of the fictional Calgary Outlaws doesn't seem to be a reflection of reality. So yeah, that was like interesting, but I enjoyed the camaraderie of it in the book, and also the grief and loss of a family member when you're young. Someone in this book has a sister that died when they're a lot younger, and there's trauma that carries on throughout the book. Without spoiling, there is plot to this book as well, so it's worth reading, and I really talk about that, even though obviously the main plot point is Landon and Casey. Things I didn't enjoy about this book. The first thing is, you can probably guess if you watch my channel regularly, is I was not ready for that smut. I obviously am a woman, or yeah, I'm a woman, and I'm in a hetero relationship, and I obviously have very no exposure to male-on-male sexual action, and this was just very like it was just a lot for me to read, but that's fine. That's the beauty of reading and exploring new things. I also thought it was kind of like unrealistic how supportive everyone in the hockey team is, and also Landon and Casey's family is, of how quickly the relationship developed. I just feel like there had to be some conflict, but I guess it's a holiday romance, so there's usually no conflict and everything just works out. So that's fine. What I did like is, flip side of why I didn't like it is it was easy to read. I actually felt Landon and Casey were both very likable characters. I liked them as individuals. I liked them together. I was just rooting for them. And I said before, I grew up watching hockey, so all the hockey references were really fun. And also, this book is set in Calgary, where I live, so that was also really cool to see a little call outs to Calgary and the surrounding areas like Banff. On Goodreads, this book on average of 4.1 out of 5. I think that's very accurate, because I think this is the type of book that you only read if you already subscribe to like in this genre. So I think this type of book will skew towards higher ratings. Bad reviews where people felt there were lots of unresolved things that were introduced, like how people think Casey's dumb. People also felt there were red flags with the romance of being with someone on the same team as you in the NHL, and that's very unrealistic. And it's really funny because I talked to my partner about this book, and he's like, so this is a woman writing about male hockey romance. It's kind of like the equivalent of like a male writing a romance about girl and girl sleepovers or some sport like field hockey. So I thought that was really funny, because Yeah, it's probably just unrealistic. So maybe people who have bad reviews just can't believe that this could be a thing. But you know what? There's a whole genre of it, fan fiction, I guess. Good reviews where people were really a fan because it's like cheesy romance. It's romantic. It's the type of holiday read you want to read, and people felt it also represented gay men in the NHL. For me, that's a stretch because from my brief Google searching, I don't think that's a thing, unfortunately. But I'm glad that people felt that way. Why I think you should read this book: if you want holiday romance, if you like smut, and male on male romance, it's for you. Now I'll share how this book made me feel because if you ask me a week, a year, 5 years from now, I probably won't remember exactly what this book was about. But I remember how it made me feel. So this book, it made me feel or realize that I know nothing about man on man sexual relations, and it was very eye opening and I learned a lot. Thank you for watching my book review for Time to Shine by Rachel Reid. If you read this book or her other books, please comment down below. Happy holidays, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.